Hello everyone, I'm Woman International Master Knarik and I'm using the chesswithknarik.com website to record this video. In this video, we're going to see different positions where we're trying to attack with our knight and queen. And of course, other pieces are going to help us with the attack, but we're trying to find different patterns where we can attack with the knight and the queen. So here, if we take a look at this position, if you want to think about the answer, you can just pause the video, think about what you want to play here, and then just continue playing the video. So if we look at this position, we have already the knight and the queen already creating a mating pattern. So here the queen can just move to h7 and checkmate. But of course, the problem is that there is a defender there. The knight on f6 is defending the h7 square. So we need to find a way to get rid of this knight then. We remove the defender. So how to get rid of this knight? Let's try to find such a move. Now, here I see that my bishop can capture that knight if only my knight that's on c3 was not there. So what can we play? We can move away the knight by gaining time, right? We can do that by attacking the queen. And here, of course, if black doesn't want to lose the queen, black should capture our knight and surely not capture it with the knight because that will allow the checkmate. So if black doesn't want to lose the queen, black should capture our knight. But then again, we can just capture the knight that's on f6 and here again we're threatening checkmate and we're threatening to capture the queen. So again, black is either losing the queen or getting checkmated. If we go back to the initial position when we play this move, because what's the problem if the queen just moving away? Because now we are capturing that knight with a check, and then definitely our next move is going to be checkmate, and black has no other choice but to capture back our knight or move away. It doesn't matter, but the checkmate is inevitable. Okay, so let's see another position. In this next position, again, we want to try to attack with our knight and a queen. And usually when I show this position to my students, very fast, in a reflex, they all answer the same move. Let's say they all want to play knight to g4. Well, it's true. We want to play knight to g4 and create this mating pattern and checkmate with the queen on h2. But there is a problem here. If we play knight to g4 directly, what does white play? And stop our checkmate. And here, white can simply play the pawn to f3 and attack our knight, at the same time defend the h2 square, and we will not be able to checkmate here. So let's go back to the initial position. Then how else can we approach this problem? So we do want to play knight to g4 and create the mating pattern with the queen, but we just don't want this white queen to be defending the king. So we can start with uh, deflection. We can just sacrifice our bishop on d3, and here at least we're winning material, because let's say if the white queen captures, of course now we will be able to play the knight to g4 and white cannot stop our checkmate from h2. Maybe white can delay it, let's say by moving away the rook, because okay, then we will have to do the checkmate in two moves, not just in one. We will have to do the check on h2 and then the checkmate on f2. So let's go back. So if we play bishop to d3 here, then white should not capture. But then if white doesn't capture, we have also created here a skewer. So white is just going to move away, maybe keep the queen on the second rank so that they keep the chances of defending the king. But then we're just capturing the rook, and at least we're winning the exchange. That's the least that we have in this position. So let's go to the next position. In this one, again, we need to try to attack with our knight and the queen and try to checkmate black. But the problem is that it looks like our queen is not participating in the attack. It's like away from the black king. So we need to find a way to include this queen in the attack and in the fastest way possible. And how can we do that? Let's see. So we can try different moves. For example, again, often when I show this position to students, they suggest, let's say, the first thing and the most suggested move usually here is queen to e4. Well, queen to e4 is a good move, but let's say it also allows black to create some counterplay, let's say by moving the queen to d1, and black is also trying to attack. Of course, there is queen a8, but then I will offer the trade of queens, and white will not have an attack anymore, and I have two bishops in this endgame, and this will just be playing this endgame. So if we go back and we want to win with our attack, we should find another way to get our queen to participate in the attack. So we can notice that if we can get our queen to the h6 square, that's going to be very strong because it will create mating attacks. And together, even if our knight gets captured on f5, the queen together with the knight that's on g3 can create mating patterns. So let's see. Then how do we get to h6? Definitely we're playing queen to c1 since d2 is not a safe move. Then we play queen to c1. Our threat is to move to h6. And here, say black is capturing our knight because it looks like it's a free knight. And if we capture, black is getting an extra knight. So, but definitely we're not capturing back here with the knight, but moving our queen, we're keeping our knight because we're gonna need that in our attack. We're going to move our queen to the h6 square, and here we have different threats. For example, one threat is to checkmate on f8. It's right now, so black should do something about that. For example, black can play king to g8. But here we can just bring our knight also to the attack, and the knight and the queen are creating a very strong mating attack that cannot be stopped. And if we go back, what if here black doesn't play king to g8, but let's say plays queen to the last rank, because here by moving the queen to the last rank, it's stopping the checkmate from f8. But here again, there are different ways for us to win, and one of them can be just capture this bishop here because the queen cannot capture back because of the checkmate. And okay, and we also are threatening checkmate, and if black tries to stop it, then we can still checkmate by capturing on f6, and then checkmating by capturing the queen here. And if we go back, uh, let's see what else here. Yes, other than knight takes f5, we can also simply play knight to h5 because again we want this checkmate on g7 with our queen. And again, if the queen defends, we just simply have the capture on f6 and then checkmate on g7. If the queen is blocking, that's the only move black has, and that's a checkmate. So let's see the next position. In the next one, here, we can see that again, we can create a lot of threats, let's say, with our knight and a queen. Let's say a move like moving the queen to the g file is going to create some targets. But the thing is that it looks like black has defenders. The black king has some good defenders. For example, the knight, the bishop are participating in the defense. And let's say the bishop is defending an important square that we need for checkmate. The knight is doing a very good job because the knight together with the queen are attacking our knight, which is one of the main attackers. So we don't want to lose that knight. For example, if we just try to attack right now, the queen can simply capture or the knight can simply capture, and we will have not enough pieces in our attack. Not because black also has pieces that are already defending. So here it's very important that we get rid of these defenders, and we can do that by just capturing the knight that's on e7. Here we just want a piece, so black should be capturing this rook, surely not capturing with the queen because our knight can just capture the queen. So if we go back, black's capturing the rook with a bishop. And now, what is a very good move that creates different targets in this position? If we think about it, here, of course, one target can be the g7 square for checkmate, and another one will be white. Let's see. Anyway, we need to defend this knight as well because, for example, if I just play queen to g3, black can simply capture our knight. We don't have checkmate, and we just lost our important piece. So let's go back. Then definitely here our move is going to be queen to g4, and the two threats created are we are threatening checkmate on g7. At the same time, we're setting up for a discovered attack when we move away our knight. We're going to be attacking the black queen. So here, say black is stopping our checkmate in different ways, either bishop to f6 or pawn to g6, because that should be a priority for black, stopping the checkmate, not saving the queen for sure. And here we can simply win the queen if we move away our knight with a check by gaining time. And here we can move the knight away by moving it to h6 with a check, and no matter what black is playing, we simply go and capture that queen. And if we go back, uh, definitely here sometimes I have some students suggesting that to move this knight away with a check by capturing the bishop. That is tempting, but it's not the correct way to do this discovered attack, because here black can simply capture our knight with the queen, and then we can't win the queen and our attack is gone, right? And okay, this was not a good option for us, and we have sacrificed already the exchange. This is not going to be good for us. So let's continue. Let's go back. Then definitely here, whether black plays pawn to g6 or bishop to f6, doesn't matter. We're playing the knight to h6 check, and then we are capturing the black queen. Let's see the next position. In this next position, again, we're trying to create a mating attack with our knight and a queen. Again, anytime we put a new position, it's good that you pause the video and you try to find an answer, and then we continue with the video. And it's good if you try to analyze the position on your own. Let's say, what are my pieces attacking here? The knight and the queen are able to attack here. It's just that my queen is a bit far from the attack. So of course, together they can create mating attacks. And it's also always important for us to try to find the best way that our opponent can attack. For example, yes, it looks quite obvious that our first move can be, let's say, moving the queen to h6 with a checkmating attack. But of course, I should also think of what's the best way for my opponent to defend, because if in a line that I see that my opponent is defending in a very good way, then maybe I would like to try another way to attack my opponent. So here, let's see, if black is just playing bishop to f8 to stop our checkmate from g7 with the queen. So here what we can do is simply capture the e8 rook. And okay, now we are attacking the queen and we are threatening checkmate in different ways. For example, here if black captures, we can simply do a check, and definitely not to capture the queen, but it's for checkmating black. And if we go back, what if we play this move and black doesn't want, after bishop f8, doesn't want that we capture that rook and have other mating threats? So what if black trades rooks first, because that's with an intermediate check, so we cannot really go and checkmate there. We have to take back this rook. And now black plays bishop to f8. And just going back, just for a side note, surely not queen to f8, right? Because the queen is doing the job of protecting the f6 square, not allowing the knight to move to f6 with a check, and then queen h7 checkmate. So going back, it's important that black leaves the queen on the d8 square to protect the f6 square, and a bishop to f8 here is going to be the defending move for black. Now we can't play queen g7, we can't play knight f6, everything looks defended. But then why can't we play the same move we had a while ago, but instead of capturing the rook, we just place our rook on e8? And this is again creating a lot of targets. We're attacking the queen. At the same time, we're pinning the bishop and not allowing the capture of our queen. Also, now, let's say if the queen captures, we have the same checkmate because the queen left the f6 square. We can simply play knight to f6 and queen to h7 checkmate like before. Now, what if black plays queen to d6, trying to keep an eye on the f6 square and not capturing the rook? Okay, it looks like it's okay here, but it's not. There's checkmate in one move here. Of course, there's also checkmate in 2 or 3 moves also, if we just capture the bishop with the rook. But there's also mate in one here, since here there is a pin. Let's see, there is a pin on the last rank. We're pinning the bishop on f8. Then the square on g7 is not really protected. We can just move to the g7 square, and that's going to be checkmate because that bishop is pinned and cannot capture our queen. That's mate in one move. And let's try another position here. In this position, we have the black pieces, it looks like we have an exchange down, but we have 2 pawns for it, so it looks like material is balanced. But let's see, let's try to create an attack here. We can notice that we have, let's say on the d file, we have the queen and a rook in a battery, which is something we can try to use. That's something good in our position. But this means that we need to move away our knight, and move away our knight with strong move, with a move that has threats. And how can we do that? Because if I move my knight to a random square, there's nothing stopping white from just trading rooks and not losing anything. While if I move this knight to f4, then I'm moving this knight with threats. For example, if white captures here, we can use the knight and the queen together again in a mating attack. Here we are. We can move the queen to h3, and then we can just checkmate from the g2 square. So let's go back here in this position. So white is not capturing our rook for sure. White's capturing our knight to stop our attack with the queen. But now here we're capturing the rook. We just won the exchange. And here, let's look, because this is interesting. Of course, white's not going to play king to g3, but let's look at this, because king to g3 is going to allow mate in 3 moves. Let's try to find that one too. Pause the video and try to find it. So here, the move is just check with a pawn. We sacrifice the pawn. That's an only move. And here, after this check, if the king moves to g3, we can move the queen to h3. That's checkmate. If the king moves to g5, we can just push our pawn to f6. That's also checkmate. So definitely when we capture the white rook and we check, white's definitely not moving to g3, but moving the king back to h1 or g1. G1 definitely. H1 is going to allow, again, another fast attack with our queen. So definitely G1. And here, okay, playing queen to h3 is our aim, but we cannot leave our rook here unprotected. We can simply capture the pawn that's on a2, and we already have 3 extra pawns in this position. We have a very strong attack on the white king. Our queen can move to h3 with a strong attack, while white doesn't have an attack, and other than having 3 pawns down, our king is defended while their king is more exposed. So here black has a very big and winning advantage. Let's see just one more position, and in this next position, again, the knight and the queen are going to create a mating attack. Again, always when I show this position to my students, most of the time they suggest to play knight to h3. But again, it's very important for us always to think of what will our opponent play when we play our move, let's say with our threat. And it's important to see if our opponent is able to defend, how can I stop that defense? Because then my attack will be unstoppable. And here, if I just play knight to h3, I want to checkmate from g1. Now white can get out of this checkmate just by playing the pawn to e3. So I want to play the knight to h3 and I want to checkmate from g1, but I don't want white to play the pawn to e3. So what can I play? Now again, most of the time the suggestions in this position is, let's say, to capture here, because if we capture there, there's gonna be a white piece blocking the king's way. But then, for example, if the knight captures, then the g1 square is protected. I can't really play knight to h3 and threaten checkmate from g1 when it's already protected. So definitely not capture the e2 pawn, but stop the e2 pawn's advance. We can just block that pawn. We don't need the rook for our checkmate, we just need the queen and the knight. So we can just put our rook on the e3 square, block the pawn's advance to e3, and this is not really going to change anything in white's defense. Let's say white cannot use this time to defend instead of capturing the rook. And when white captures or even doesn't capture, our next move is just going to be knight to h3, and our checkmate cannot be stopped. It can be delayed maybe if white sacrifices the queen, but it definitely cannot be stopped.